Family Guy Creepypasta, Lois Alone. It started with one of Lois Griffin's worst outbursts. The arguments between Peter and Lois had been getting more frequent. Small disagreements would explode into screaming matches. One evening, while the family was eating dinner, Peter made a joke that pushed Lois over the edge. "Maybe if you spent less time yelling and more time cooking, we'd have edible meatloaf." Everyone laughed. Lois didn't. Her face twisted with anger. She grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter and stormed toward Peter. At first, everyone thought she was trying to scare him. Then she swung. Peter stumbled backward with a cry of pain. Blood stained his shirt. The room went silent. The knife had cut deep into his shoulder. Lois immediately dropped the weapon and stared at her shaking hands. "Peter, I didn't mean to." But Peter wasn't listening. For the first time, there wasn't any humor in his face, only fear. The injury healed. The trust didn't. Peter couldn't look at Lois the same way anymore. Chris and Meg were terrified of her sudden mood swings. Even Stewie, who usually mocked everyone, kept his distance. Within weeks, Peter made a decision. The family packed their belongings and moved into the spare rooms at the home of Joe Swanson. Lois begged them to stay. Nobody listened. Soon, she was alone. At first, neighbors occasionally saw her outside. Then they stopped seeing her altogether. The curtains remained closed. The lights stayed off. Weeks became months. The Griffin house slowly fell apart. Grass grew waist-high. Windows became filthy. Strange noises were heard late at night. People assumed Lois had moved away. Nobody checked. One rainy evening, Glenn Quagmire and Cleveland Brown stopped by the abandoned house. Joe had mentioned that Stewie had left some toys behind, and they volunteered to retrieve them. The front door creaked open with almost no effort. The smell hit them instantly. Rotten food. Mold. Something worse. "Man," Cleveland muttered, "this place is nasty." The living room looked destroyed. Furniture was overturned. Pictures had been ripped from the walls. Deep scratch marks covered the wallpaper. Food containers and trash littered every surface. It looked less like a home and more like an abandoned animal den. "Lois?" Quagmire called. No response. Only silence. They climbed the stairs. Each step groaned beneath their feet. The hallway was dark. A single light bulb flickered at the far end. Stewie's room door was partially open. "Let's just grab the toys and leave," Cleveland whispered. Quagmire nodded. They pushed the door open. The room froze them in place. A thin figure crouched in the corner. At first, they couldn't tell what it was. Its ribs pressed against pale skin. Its hair hung in tangled clumps. It was tearing into raw meat with its teeth. Not cooking it. Not preparing it. Simply eating. Then it stopped. Slowly, the figure turned its head. It was Lois, or what was left of her. Her eyes looked sunken. Her cheeks were hollow. Dark stains covered her mouth. She stared at them without blinking. For several seconds, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Lois smiled, a wide, unnatural smile. "Cleveland," she rasped. "Quagmire." Her voice sounded wrong, almost animal-like.